We're speaking to Low Wern this morning. Wern, thank you so much for taking time to speaking to us. Congrats on winning the Malaysian national title for the fourth time.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Now, how does it feel to come up on top after a very tough season?
Yeah, I mean, this year has been a bit bizarre to say the least. I haven't played anything since February. I was in the US January and February, came home just in time before the whole MCO and CMCO started. Yeah, it's been a long couple of months, but it's good to be back in a competitive mode and come back with a win, you know.
Was it sweeter because it's on home ground and this is the fourth time that you're winning this title?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just actually found out that it's my ninth final, apparently, playing in the Malaysian nationals. And yeah, it's good to actually win. Well, this is my fourth title, so hopefully a couple more for me. But I mean, it's been great to know that I'm at least a top 2 player in the country for the last 9 years.
Which is awesome. Do you feel like you're back after, because you've gone through so much, right? You feel like you're back at your best, or there's still some ways to go?
At my best, I was 5 in the world. So to be honest, I'm not there yet. There are still a lot of things that I would like to work on just to get back to where I was before. Things are looking positive. I am getting stronger. I'm getting better at what I used to do. So it is all looking positive, but I'm not back to where I was before.
Yeah, still got ways to go.
Yes, yeah.
Now, Wern, can we rewind a little bit and tell us a bit about your life growing up?
My life growing up, okay, wow. Well, I started squash at the age of about 7, 8. At that point in time, my parents actually got divorced, and my mom wanted me to do something over the weekends and just to fill my time a little bit more. She gave me the option between playing tennis and squash. I've no idea what squash was, never heard of it, never seen it. Didn't really want to play tennis. I mean, I love tennis, but I was just such a small, scrawny kid that tennis was a bit tough for me. So I picked squash, and that was it. I started from there and never really looked back.
Okay, but what was life like living with just your mom and your sister? You have a sister as well, right? Growing
Yes,
up.
I do. Yeah, I have a younger sister, so she picked up squash as well about a year after I did. So I mean, it was great. Like I used to train. I started training actually 5, 6 days a week when I was about 9 years old. So every single day after school, I'm at the squash courts doing my homework, training, and then going home late at night. So that has been my routine ever since I was 8, 9 years old. And I think that has actually shaped me to who I am today. That taught me a lot of discipline, time management, and all the sorts. So that has actually helped me a lot in my younger days and to make me who I am today.
Okay. What was it about squash that made you stick to it?
Well, it was actually the only sport that I actually took coaching in. Like I used to play all the sports when I was in school. I did everything for my school: running, tennis, badminton, football, whatever you name it. I'm just a very active kid, so I love sports. But squash was the only sport that I actually went and took lessons. So it was, yeah. So I think it just started from there. Everything just came to me naturally, and I really enjoyed it at a young age and pursued it. Yeah.
And what is it about Penang, though? Is it a sea air that just produces amazing squash players?
Yeah, because Datuk Nicol David is from Penang as well.
Yeah, or is it a char kway teow?
Yeah, I mean the food definitely helps because we need to burn it off. So squash is one of the top sports for you to burn all the calories off. But jokes aside, I think I think squash. Well, not just squash. Penang has produced a number of national athletes. Obviously, the most prominent ones are Datuk Nicol David and Datuk Lee Chong Wei, both from Penang as well. So I think we have a good setup, a good base here, and we hope to keep that going as well.
I think it's the Penang air as well.
Yeah, and definitely not the drivers.
Now, since you were 8, you started squash, and you were just your schedule was just packed from when you were in primary school. So how did you balance your time between studying and squash and life?
Yeah, didn't you get tired?
I think after a while you sort of get used to it. It's like a routine, like an everyday routine for me. I used to do my homework at the squash course. What was actually harder was missing a lot of school. So at a young age, I started traveling for tournaments. So I would miss probably 1/3 of the school year. It's quite fun, to be honest with you, but um, my having to do my exams earlier than everyone else, just because I will not be around during exams, trying to study when I'm overseas, that sort of thing. That was a bit harder. But then again, I believe that it's all about time management. And to be fair, I don't think you can study the whole afternoon as well. Let's say if I don't play squash, you're not going to actually sit down and study the whole afternoon. So to me, it's a lot of time management. And I think sports actually help you with that. But it also gives you, I would say, a discipline in that sense. So I would always do my homework at the squash courts at night. I'll study when I'm traveling in the plane, that sort of thing. So it's a different way of life, but I think it was a good one. Yeah.
But don't you admit that you were unique? Not every kid who gets into squash or becomes an athlete is that discipline. I mean, there's something different about you. Like you wanted this for yourself, right?
I would really wanted it, I guess, when I realized I wanted to do squash as a career was when I was 16 years old and when I had a couple of scholarships to go to America. And that was when I decided that, okay, I'm going to do this as a career. I'm going to do this full time. And so I had to make all the adjustments, all the sacrifices in order to get what I want.
Yeah, you were saying at 16, you were actually offered scholarships to Ivy League colleges, right? Like Princeton and Harvard and Trinity. And I'm sure it was hard to turn that down. I'm sure, as a parent, your mom would have been like, huh, you got scholarship to go all these good university, but you want to play squash?
Yeah, I mean, that was a challenge trying to convince her, more than anything else. But
You're
to
a
me,
smart kid, right?
I'm not a straight A student, let's be honest, but I did pretty well in school. I was always in the top class, that sort of thing. Yeah, not a perfectly straight A student because I missed half of school anyway.
Well,
But
even missing half the school, you can
You're
still be the
top,
top
like,
student.
Yeah, come on, man. But how was it? I mean, like to drop all those and how did it feel?
It's a big risk, I would say. Then again, I never thought I'd be out injured for such a long period of time, so that came into play a bit later on. But to me, my rationale was that I could always go back and get a degree when I'm 40 years old when I'm retired, because education, there's no age limit to it. But as a professional athlete, I guess my best years are there and then. I can't decide to play professional squash at the age of 32, later on in life. So my rationale was that convincing my mom was a different issue. Um, but I guess I made a deal with her in a sense where in my first year of playing professional at 16 to 17 years old, I said if I don't break top 50 in the world, I will back off and actually go off and study. So that was the deal I had. And then the following year was top 40. And that's basically how I kept my deal going, and I'm still here today.
But that also kind of drove you to like, I need to get there because number one, you see your mom's face like, I know what she wants, but I want to give it to her, right?
Yeah, I mean, the blessing is that actually, because I have a younger sister as well, so she decided to take the scholarship and go off to the US. So at least my mom got off my back a bit. At least one of us has a degree now, at least.
Okay, so your mom allowed you to play squash on the pretext that you will be top 50 in the world, and you achieved
that. Was my target, yes. Yeah, within 1 year. Yeah, that was my target. And the following year was top 40 and then top 30. So if I don't hit my target, then I'm off to study. That was the deal that I had.
What if you did go to study though? I mean, let's just say you did go to one of these Ivy Leagues, right? What would it have been? What would you have studied, and also what would you become?
That's a tough question. I would probably say something to do with marketing or business side of things, because, well, growing up as an athlete, I think we try to appeal to the market, appeal to the people and things like that, and trying to inspire others as well. So I think one of the ways was actually I would probably still be involved in sports somehow. So it'll probably be in the way of, talent management or something like that, where it still involves athletes and marketing and companies and things like that.
Interesting. Okay. Oh my God, I had a question, but it just slipped my mind. All right. Now, as a Malaysian squash player from Penang, we're sure you always get compared to Datuk Nicol David, right? Do you feel that you have to fill her shoes now that she's retired?
Let's be honest here. I think anyone who said they can fill Nicole's shoes is miraculous. I mean, what she has done and what she has achieved is one in a million sort of thing. So for me to fill Nicole's shoes and to do what she did, I would say it's close to impossible. So I have my own expectations, my own goals, and yeah, like I said, to achieve what she has done is close to impossible, and I'm not sure anyone could actually do that in the near future. What she has achieved. So for me, it's to just try and be the best I can, try to lead the rest of the younger players, try to be a good example to them, inspire them, and hopefully we'll have another future Nicole, you know.
Okay.
But I mean, like the press, the media, they like to go, so Lowy Wern, Nicole is retired, so she will carry the Malaysian flag. Is that like a lot of unreal pressure though?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't see what she has achieved because she made it look so effortlessly, you know, winning 8 world titles. Who in their right mind is going to win 8 world titles, you know?
You get one, also like, wow, right?
Yeah, I mean, like if you win 1 world title, even 2, for example, if you defend your world title, that's amazing. You know, it's amazing feat and for yourself as well. But just to win 8 world titles, that's a bit over the top, man.
So you're not giving yourself that pressure to fill her shoes.
um, I mean, coming back from injury and everything, I sort of see sports in a different perspective at this point in time. If I must say, prior to that, I was number 5 in the world, and to be honest, every tournament, every world championship to me was just another tournament. But having being out injured for close to almost 3 years in total, that sort of gave me a bit more perspective, and it gave me a bit more a sense of appreciation to what I do, and to try and appreciate it a little bit more, knowing that it's not forever. So I think that sort of helped me realize that, you know, this is what I do and I want to do it well, rather than just taking it that tournament to another tournament. Because initially that was what happened with me. I got to number 5 in the world, played Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, but that all felt to me like just another tournament. You know, I never appreciated the magnitude of all that.
So it's all muscle memory, just going one after another, right?
Yeah, because to me that was just another tournament. You know, I didn't appreciate it as much until it all has been taken away from me, where you're actually out for 3 years and just watching by the sidelines. You know? Then I sort of realized that, wow, you know, this is something that I could do, and this is something that I want to do for whatever's left of my career.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of your injuries, can you tell us a little bit more about what happened? What took you out for 3 years?
Yeah, so I tore my ACL, my first ACL back in 2015. And yeah, I mean, that, like I said again, I never expected for me to be out injured for such a long period of time. It was such a serious injury. The first one, I remember I tore it on a Thursday. I was in surgery by Monday, I was already in surgery, you know. So that took me close to 9-10 months to recover from my first ACL. Got back to playing again within a year. I got back playing on the circuit again, and about a couple of months down the road, I did a routine MRI just to see what's going on. Only to discover that I actually tore my ACL for the second time.
Did you feel pain the second time?
I actually did not realize it as well, because I mean, the pain is there on and off. I know that my knee will not be the same again, so there are always some niggles here and there, but I did not expect to actually tear it again. So what happened was, at that point in time, actually no surgeon in Malaysia was willing to take the risk to do my surgery, because I'm not going back to a sedentary lifestyle. You know, I still want to go back to a competitive professional sport. So I had to actually do my surgery in London, and they couldn't fix it all in one surgery. It had to be a 2-stage surgery. So all in all, I had 3 surgeries. So that put me out for close to 3 years. You know, from
Plus
learning how to.
Yeah, plus the recovery and the physio and all that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the first 6 weeks I was in crutches and on a brace. I couldn't walk, you know. So it was a long process, to say the least.
I remember those days.
But I mean, at any point during those 3 years, did you consider retirement?
Actually, even before my first surgery, my mom said to me that, you know, even if you don't want to go through with the surgery, I'm more than happy with it. I mean, I've achieved enough in my life. I got to number 5 in the world, Malaysia number 2, Asian Games, gold medalist, silver medalist. I've achieved enough. So she said, even if I don't want to go through with the first surgery, that's fine. I can just walk away from the sport and, you know, finally go back to education or something, you know. But
your mom's going, finally. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that was an option to me. But then again, when it comes to a point in my career where it's no longer just about me and my goals, it's about the people who stood by me ever since my first surgery and even prior before that, the people that still believe in me, still supported me throughout my whole 3 years being out injured. They believe that I could make a comeback and still be at least Malaysia's number one, which I currently am. So it comes to a point where it's not just about me anymore. If I decide to walk away, I can do something else with my life, but it's the people that stood by me all this while, they still believe in me. So to me, my rationale was it's not fair for me to walk out on them at this point in time.
How tough was it though, the recovery, if you don't mind me asking? Was it more a physical pain, mental pain? What was it?
I guess the first stage is more physically because I'm so limited. Like I can't walk, I can't do anything, and I'm so used to being doing things on my own, running and that sort of thing. And I remembered after my third surgery, I lived in KL for a bit for my rehab, and the first 6-7 weeks I was in crutches. So I couldn't even make myself a morning coffee and bring it onto the table because both my hands are on crutches, that sort of thing. So that was the initial part, but it took me about 8 to 9 months before I was even allowed to go on a jogging track to run 100 meters. And that was it, 100 meters that was all I was allowed to do after 9 months. So can you imagine the amount of cardio and everything that I've lost throughout? So that was tough physically, but mentally as well. It's being at the top of your career, at the peak of your career, and having to not being able to walk again. That whole sort of thing. It took a toll, but then again, like I said, it comes to a point where it's no longer about me anymore. If it's just about me, I would think I'll probably walk away and do something else with my life. But if you have to think about the people who stood by you throughout this whole time and still believed in you, it's for them, this time around.
What a rational girl, right? It's like, I like your logic when you told your mom that, I can always study later on. And now that you're not doing squash just for yourself anymore, you're doing it for the people, for Malaysia, right? For the country. Yeah. Now, as a professional athlete, though, I'm sure you've had to give up a lot of your personal and social life to be able to pursue this sport, even after your injury.
Yes, for sure. I mean, even from a young age, like I said, every day after school, I'm at the squash courts. I guess when you're 10, 11 years old, you don't really have much of a social life. But as you get older, I mean, everybody, after school, they go watch a movie or they hang out at night, that sort of thing, which something I can't do. Every day after school, I'm right at the squash courts. And if I do want to go out after training, then it's going to be a bit tough because the next morning I can't train as well and things like that. So I used to train 3 times a week before school as well. So I had to wake up really early, do some training before I go to school, finish my day at school, and then come back to the squash course and train again after. So a lot of my personal life actually took a backseat there and then. So yeah, I guess to get to where you are, you always have to make sacrifices, not just in sports, but in life in general. So yeah.
Could you sneak in some social life? I mean, like during the down times?
Actually, the downtime was actually, I kind of enjoyed it a little bit because I'm home a little bit more. I used to travel a lot, like half the year I'm away overseas as well. So actually being at home was nice, like just be able to see some friends, that sort of thing, something that I don't normally get. Yeah.
But do you think all these sacrifices are worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to be successful in your career or in anything else in life, you have to make sacrifices. And it comes to a point where I think you don't really think about it as sacrifices anymore. It's just, it's more, I would say, sort of your commitment towards your career. So it's more doing the right thing rather than just sort of taking it for a ride, because you only have one shot at your career, especially in sports. It's either make or break. You only have X number of years in your sports career, and if you don't make the best out of it, you're just going to regret it later on.
So it's like studies again. It's like education. I'll party after I retire.
Yes, that could be an idea, because after that, I guess after sporting career, before we go into the corporate world or decide what we want to do, anything else in life, I guess you have a good window of time there and then. So I'm probably going to make the full use of that time.
Not to go back to study like you promised your
Not
mom.
yet.
Anyways, but like, how long did it take you from when you recovered from your injury to being back to Malaysia's #1 squash player?
Well, I was after my third surgery, I was not allowed to play any competitive sport or any competitive squash for close to 2 years, 21 months. I was out. So having to play my first tournament after 21 months, it's a whole new different feeling. You know, it's like you're starting to start from scratch again, basically. And what I don't know is a good or bad thing, but I know how good I was in the past. So trying to achieve that and not being able to do that was kind of frustrating, to say the least. So there are times where, you know, you work so hard, but it just doesn't show because I know how it was done before, but I just can't get to that level at that point in time. So I still struggle with it every now and then. It's still an ongoing process for me. So I think when I came back after my first tournament, I lost in the Malaysian Nationals in the finals. So a week after that, I won the Malaysian Open. So it's good and bad. It took me, I would say, at least a year to get consistent again in my squash. So it's still an ongoing process. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting better at it.
What did you have to do within that year to get yourself back into top form? Like, did you have to train extra hard? Did you have to like build back up your cardio, diet, everything?
Yeah, cardio was a big thing. I remember, like I said, I was out for 9 months before I was allowed to even do a 100-meter run. So imagine, and this is me playing high-level squash. So you lose everything so quickly, and for squash you need all that, the speed, the endurance, and everything else. So it took me a long time to get to that, but I guess what really missing was the number of competitive matches. You can train all you want, but when it comes to on-court competition, it's always a different feeling. You can train, you can play matches in training, but when you play a tournament, you know, there's so many factors involved. There's risk involved and things like that. So that is something that I'm still working on. It's not perfect. It's not how I used to be, but it's getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are not many tournaments on this year because this is a weird year.
Yeah, that is the thing though, because early this year I had a couple of good results in the US. Beat a couple of top 10 players, so at least I got back to where I was, and yeah, just about then everything decided to stop again. So I haven't played anything since February. I played one last week, which is the Malaysian Nationals, but I'm not sure what the rest of the year is going to hold for us.
Yeah, well, the whole world is on pause right now, so maybe maybe it's a good time for us to all pause as well to see what we really want from life, right? But how do you stay so strong mentally through it all?
Yeah, like I said, I think it comes to a point where you're mature enough to realize that it's not just about you anymore. You know, I think that actually is the key for me, because if you're doing something for yourself, you can easily walk away from it. But it's, like I said, it's the people that has been there for me. Yeah, I mean, even not just my family, my mom, my sister, my coach, my physio, but it's also my sponsors who actually stood by me and believed in me, saying that, you know, just take your time, come back, we'll still be there supporting you. So it's people like that, and the fans and everything else as well, that believed in you, and it's not just about squash anymore, it's about inspiring others as well. It's a story that you tell. So as for me, my story is coming back from 3 knee surgeries, you know, and not just coming back to play squash for fun again. I'm coming back to be Malaysia's #1 and to lead Malaysia's challenge and to get back to hopefully top 10 in the world.
Wow, I like that determination. What would you advise parents of kids who have potential in sports? Should they turn professional young, or should they complete their studies first? What should they be prepared for?
Well, I think to me, at least I completed my O-levels education. I think that is at least the baseline, or SPM, you know, that sort of thing. Ong Beng Hee did it, and he left school at the age of 14. That's something to me, is too big a risk, because he left school at the age of 14 to pursue his career. He didn't finish anything else after. But I mean, he made it big. He's a successful squash player. But to me, I think the minimum base is to at least finish SPM. And then from then on, you can make a deal with your parents and see how that goes. But I think sports as a career is not something a lot of parents will look at. Maybe now it's a little bit better with what Nicole has achieved, Aslan, Bengi, and probably myself as well. What we have achieved is actually put squash or sports as a career. Early on, it's everybody think you're crazy if you want to do sports as a career, but it's actually a very viable option at this point in time. And I guess as time progresses as well, there are many more corporate sponsors coming into sports and help supporting our athletes. So it seems like it's a more viable option now. I'm not saying education is not important. Education is as important as well. So it's a big toss, I would say, to whether to pursue your education or to do professional squash. But like I said, my degree can come at a later stage and a later point in life. But I only have X amount of years as professional. Then again, if you want to do it professionally, then you have to make sure it is what you want and you will make the sacrifices to make that happen. You're not doing it for the sake of doing it, You have to find ways to motivate yourself, even to do, sometimes when you are down and out and you don't feel like training and things like that, but it's all those factors that you chose this career. So you have to make sure you do whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah, the commitment that you've made to that career.
Actually,
and I guess it's,
if you ask your mom the same question, what would she say?
Well, she's not someone who was very involved in sports, to be honest. So she doesn't do sports. So I guess at one point she's probably thinking like, okay, if that's what you want, she'll just support me. But and it's also very new at that point in time. I didn't have an older sister, so at least when my younger sister decided, even if she wanted to turn pro or go off and study, there was a guideline to it, what to do and what not to do. So it was very new for her as well. So I guess it's a learning process for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just how you sit down and make things work. But like I said, the commitment has to come from the athlete himself. So like for parents who are wanting their kid maybe to turn professional, but if the kid does not want it themselves, there's no way it's going to happen. It has to come from within.
Yeah. And I like how you sat your mom down and gave her the justification on why you should play squash instead of go to a fully sponsored education. I still like that. But did you give yourself a timeline for this squash career? Like, did you tell yourself that, okay, once I pass this age, if I don't make it to this point in my career, I will give it up? Did you give yourself a timeline?
Well, to be honest, the thing about it is that, first of all, I didn't think I'll be out injured for 3 years. So that sort of taken up a lot of my playing time. So I guess for me, my goal right now is to go one more round of Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, which is 2022. And then after that, I'll probably do another year or two of professional squash, and that should be it for me, So, I mean, I've done this career ever since I was 16, 17 years old. So the big goal for us Malaysians, because unfortunately we are not in the Olympics, so the best we can go is the Asian Games and Commonwealth Games. I've not won a medal in the Commonwealth Games, so that would be one of my still on my bucket list, to win a medal at the Commonwealth Games, which is in 2022.
All right. Well, all the best. Yeah, you have one more question.
Do you ever think of training overseas? Or is this a Penangite thing? Like, no, I will stay here because this is home. I like the beaches here and the traffic.
Well, the funny thing about it was actually I lived in Holland for a bit. I lived in England for a bit, training and things like that. But to me, I think it's not so much about where you are, but who you work with and what you're trying to do. You can be anywhere in the world, but if you don't want it enough, it's not going to happen. And for me, I have a very good team here in Penang that I've worked with for a long time. So I was actually overseas and it didn't really work out for me in that sense. So I decided to come home. But another story that I would say, another angle of my story is that no one has actually made the top 10 in the world being in the country. So Nicole, Aslan, and Bengi, they've all lived overseas. So I'm the first one and the only one who has done it being in Penang, Malaysia. So that sort of inspires the younger generation to say that, look, you don't need the money to be able to go overseas and to live there and to make something out of yourself. You can do it in your home ground here in Malaysia. We have the people, we have the resources. It's about working hard enough to get there.